YouTube channel, Diaries of His Lady Mining Entrepreneur. Today's video is for us to get to know each other. Well, for you to get to know me. They say, tell me where you're from and I'll tell you where you're going. I don't know how far that true is, but yeah, here we go. As I mentioned on the previous video, my journey began back in 2010, I would say. I had just finished high school, senior high school, and I wanted to work for a bank. I had always wanted to work for a bank, and 2004 I got hired as a bank receptionist, so to say. I worked at inquiries. Fast forward to that, I got a promotion. I then moved up to being a bank teller. I believe that really is where my training began, my training going forward. I don't mean to blow my horn, but those that know me, I've always had excellent customer service. I loved going the extra mile for my customers. I still do. And I attracted a lot of clients. I remember back when I was a teller, I used to my tail point was by a corner. So that was way before we had private clients and premier clients. So what would happen was it seemed like the cream of our customers, the cream of the crop, they would come in and make a separate queue by my side to service them. And somebody would look at it and say that was a good thing, something that management would be proud of. But unfortunately, my management did not seem to think so. While I was there, there were three ladies in particular that really did not like me. It seems like they made it their mission to make my life a living hell. And yes, I was at the bank from 2004 to 2010. Fast forward to 2010, I got fired. Why did I get fired? I had a shortage. And as usual, I tried to look where the money could have went. I failed to account for it, and I remember going to one of these ladies, my management, to let them know that I had a shortage and I can't seem to locate what could have happened. And then me thinking that they would be quick to help me to try to find out what could have transpired. But no, it quickly turned into an accusation. I was accused of stealing. We always have, banks have cameras. Up above every teller, there's a camera which records everything that happens, what the teller does, whatever they do, it's recorded. So I spoke to my manager and asked her, look, there's a camera right above me. Can we have a look at the tape? That will maybe help me to, if I overpaid somebody, that would show. If I stole the money, that would also show. But she blatantly refused, and she told me that those cameras were not my balancing tool. And when she said that, it quickly dawned on me that she's not bothered by the fact that I'm having this misfortune. And yeah, things got worse. On that very same day, she called the police. They called the police. The police came into the bank. They were told that I I had a shortage, and they suspect that I stole the 10,000. And I went with the police to the police station to give a statement. And you can imagine the embarrassment of having to go with the police. Young woman working in the bank, suspected of stealing. But I tried to hold my head up high. I remember just before leaving with the police, at the time I was still a baby believer. I wasn't really of the faith, but my mom has always been a woman of faith, and she would drag us to church even though we didn't want to go. We were children, we didn't understand. But when that happened to me, the Lord is my shepherd. That was my go-to prayer. I rushed to the bathrooms, and I said that prayer, and I felt a bit encouraged. And then I went out. I left with the police. We went to the police station to give my statement. When I got to the police station, I did give my statement. And the two policemen that accompanied me to the police station, they were not very nice to me. They had already concluded that I had stole, and they kept saying, "Where's the money? Such a beautiful woman like you, stealing." Oh. So yeah. So that was that. And then, when I got to the police, I asked to speak to the station commander. The station commander came out and saw me, and I explained my situation to him. I also explained that I had requested the management to help me out with the footage, to see if maybe we could see what could have happened. And I told them that they refused to give me the footage, to show me the footage. To this day, I still have not seen that footage. Yeah, anyway, fast forward, yes, I was suspended, and then end of 2010, I was finally fired. I got dismissed, and yeah, there was a lot of, I was confused. I couldn't understand what was happening. I didn't know what my future held, because I felt like my life was in the banking industry. And I remember before getting fired, 2 months prior to getting fired, I had actually went out to the university to to register for a degree in marketing, part-time, because I didn't want to leave my job. So I thought, okay, I'll keep my job, and then I'll study for a degree in marketing. So I was granted a student loan. The same lady that signed my student loan is the same lady that signed my dismissal letter, is the same lady that fired me from work. So yes, fast forward, that all that happened in 2010, 2011. I think God really works in mysterious ways. Sometimes when I look at the steps, everything that happened in my life, I can see that my steps indeed were orchestrated by the Lord. I got fired in 2010. In 2011, that is the year that I got born again. That is the year that I found the Lord. That's that's another story for another day. So when you want to, I had quite a unique experience. But yes, I got born again in 2011, March. That was March 2011, and then a couple of months after that, that's when it all started. I started receiving letters from the court. I received a letter from FNB. I had been, they had opened up a case against me. They had opened up a case against me, stealing by a servant. So I had now to go and defend myself. Yes, that happened the best part of 2011 to 2013. I had to go to court. I had to go to court. I couldn't afford a lawyer. And the bank, no need to say, they had the best lawyers. And there I was. I couldn't afford a lawyer, and I knew nothing about law, but I had to defend myself. And I did. I did the best I could. I remember there was one time, I'll never forget the day, sometime in 2012, 2012, I was at court, and I felt so overwhelmed. You know, the lawyer guy was throwing everything he could at me, and I felt so defeated. I felt so hopeless. I just wanted to break down and cry, but I was not about to do it in front of everybody. So I stood up and I went out. I was just looking for a quiet place where I could just break down and cry. When so I walked out. I was walking through the offices, and then I stumbled upon this office, and there was this gentleman there, and he said, "Please come in." I stepped into his office reluctantly because, like I said, I just wanted to. I was looking for a quiet place to just go and break down and cry. But you know, I stepped into his office. His name is Dr. Makabenyana. He was the registrar. May his soul rest in peace. He offered me a seat, and it's as if he knew what I was going through. And, he started telling me about his life. He told me how what he went through, how he went through a divorce, and at some point in time, he was sleeping in his car at the basement of a courthouse that he worked at. And he said to me, you might be feeling like it's the end for you and nothing is ever gonna come right. But he said to me, but I'm telling you, one day you're going to come into my office wearing the highest heels, highest heels, and you would have forgotten all of this that is happening. I felt so encouraged, but I couldn't see what he was saying because I was just so I was hurting. I was hurting. But yeah, long story short, you know, we got I was going to and fro. That's all I did. I went to court, I went home. I went to court, I went home. And watching my colleagues, the colleagues that I used to work with at the bank, they were moving on with life. They were buying houses, they were buying cars, they were living. And there I was. I was at home, unemployed, court cases. I had 2 children that I could not afford to feed or myself. I felt like a burden on my mother. I must take this moment to appreciate my mother. My mother has never asked me, did you steal that money? I waited for her for years to ask me, but did you steal the money? But she never did. And I love my mom for that because she knows the kind of daughter she raised. She knew me. She knew the kind of person that I am. I would never take something that is not rightfully mine. When we got hired at the bank, we were told that when you step into the bank, when you see money, you have to look at it differently. Money The money that you see in the bank is not money that you can think about spending. Money in the bank is your instruments. Those are your tools. You just look at it as a tool. Just the way a contractor works with, whatever contractors work with. Same within the bank. It's your stationery. Money is stationery, and that is something that I took to heart. And yeah, I appreciate my mother for that. And just for those of you that might be wondering if I did take the money, no, I did not steal the money. God is my witness. I believe that He's compensated me. He's compensated me for putting up with that. But anyway, so the court case, I was acquitted, because I mean there was a time even at the court the bank was asked to share the tape so that we can see, and it never surfaced, and I was acquitted. I was offered to be reinstated, but I was too hurt. I was too traumatized. I could not go back to the bank. I couldn't go back to it. You know, before I move on, I remember a time when I had gone for mentioning at the court. When I got there, I was looking so good. So when I got there, I was offered a bench to sit on. So I sat there. There was quite a bit of time before the proceedings started. So we had to wait for everybody to arrive. So I sat there by the bench. And then while I was still sitting there, in came two inmates. They had handcuffs and leg irons on them. And, one sat on my right-hand side, one sat on my left-hand side. And, my heart just sank. And I just said within myself, God, is this what my life has been reduced to? Is this who I am? Is this me now? Yeah, that hurt. That really broke my heart. But yeah, God is faithful. I was acquitted, and I had a new lease on life. I did not want to go back to the bank. I didn't know what my next plan was. So yes, I got acquitted at the bank, and I was quite happy, thinking, oh, finally it's over. Little did I know it was not. It was far from over. A couple of weeks later, I received another letter from the bank, from the court. They were applying for civil imprisonment. Civil imprisonment, why? I asked myself. And they were talking about that loan, that student loan that they had given me. They said that they wanted to put me in jail because I wasn't paying the loan back. Remember, 2 months before I got fired, the lady approved my loan, and then 2 months after she fired me, I had nothing to pay back the loan with. I tried what I could every month. I put in a bit of money towards paying the loan back. Some months I would skip. The next month I would pay for the bank. And when I was at the court, I managed to produce proof that indeed I had been trying to make payments, and I had been making payments. And yes, I got acquitted of that too. And funny enough, while I was going through the civil imprisonment case, I didn't understand it. I only understood at the end when somebody told me that, do you know that if you had been found guilty, you would have been going straight to jail from here? Yeah, it hurt. It really hurt. And Yeah, fast forward, after the whole, after the whole bank saga, it was as if now, okay, now what? Now what? I stayed at home for some time, still unemployed, still not able to put anything on the table to help my parents or care for my children. And then out of nowhere, a friend of mine reached out to me and said that was in late 2013. And she told me about a bank, about a hospital that was looking for people. That was looking for people. And, I think, after you've been through so much, sometimes I don't know, you're kind of scared of trying or putting yourself out there again. But, so the friend called me. She's told me about the opportunity to work for the private hospital. I said, okay, yes, I will apply. But I didn't. She called me the next day and asked, have you applied? I said, no, I didn't. And then finally, yes, I finally gathered up the courage to apply. Um, I was called in for an interview at the bank in late 2013, and yes, I got hired. I got hired. I got hired at the private hospital. I got hired as a switchboard operator, and yeah, that now marks the beginning of another chapter. I think this video has kind of, summed it up a little bit. On the next video, I will sum up from the private hospital, how I got to the private hospital, and how and why I left the private hospital, because the private hospital is very much linked to now how I ended up getting into the mining industry. Please like and share, and most importantly, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can keep up to date with my journey. And please do comment if you've had anything like this happen to you. Please share. We might, who knows, there might be somebody here that can be encouraged by how we got to, how we got to get through this. But one thing that I will tell you is um, God really answers prayers. God sees our heart. That little prayer that I said every time I felt anxious, I would rush to the bathroom to pray, the Lord is my shepherd. It seemed insignificant at the time, but He saw me. The very way He saw me, He sees you in your pain. He sees you in whatever it is you're going through. So never think that God is too far away from you, or you're too far gone for Him to see you, or for Him to embrace you. Thank you so much for subscribing. Till the next time, stay blessed.